call this meeting of the Board of Education in order. Sydney, would you please call the roll?
Armando,
Here.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Present.
Kilbert,
Present.
Locke,
Here.
Mathis,
Here.
Meadows,
Present.
Slagar.
Present.
Next, I would invite Aaron to lead us in the
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any items to be adjusted or removed from the agenda?
I have two minor adjustments to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is accurate, but it did change from Friday. So since Friday, we added one FMLA, and we added a set of minutes because you had a board meeting on Friday, and Cindy was able to get those meetings prepared for you, or the minutes prepared for you, so those are in there. She got those in there yesterday, and the rule is with minutes, you're supposed to approve minutes. This is just a fun fact. When you have a meeting, you write up the minutes, and then you have to approve them at the next regular meeting. And then they have to be posted on our website within 10 days of that, but with board docs, they're posted automatically. That was just a little side note, a little history lesson on Open Meetings Act.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Nope. Okay. Holly, any public comment?
No public comment.
All right, well, seeing as none, we will move on to our BPS partners. Todd, I know you're not used to us moving this fast.
Right.
Keep it going.
It's a new ship up here, Todd.
All right, the pressure's on. Good evening, members of the board. Tonight, I would like to take just a brief moment of our meeting time, and for Rob and Raquel and Danielle, you may not be aware, but the word brief and communications used in conjunction with me don't usually go hand in hand, but that will be the case tonight. First off, I want to give all of our district retirees one last shout out with just 3 days left of the school year. Your dedication to the students of Batavia is what makes you all great, and in turn will make you greatly missed next year. Let the adventure that is the next phase of your life begin. To our staff, I know that there are days that seem like they will never end, but in spite of that, here we are down to the last 3 days of the school year. It just seems like last week it was spring break, and now we are almost to Z in the letter countdown. I know we're told this over and over, but I want you all to take this to heart this summer. Take time for yourself, take time for your family, and take time to do something that brings you peace or brings you joy. Indulge in the simple pleasures that life brings your way, but also take a moment while you can to reflect on the successes of your year, whether little or large. We know your bucket is running pretty close to empty with all that you have given to your profession, your colleagues, and your students and their families. Now is the time to restock for the 23-24 school year. Have a great summer to all of our BPS staff and come back in August ready to rock another year. Finally, I would like to recognize our students, both those who will be returning next fall and especially those that will be crossing the stage at NIU tomorrow night. Your teachers thank you for your hard work, your perseverance, and your dedication to making sure that you are leaving here on Thursday with a little more knowledge than you had at the beginning of the year, more compassion not only for your fellow students, but for all the people in your life, and more desire to see what the next steps hold for you. And I'm going to ask Holly to bring up a picture for you all to take a look at. So as this picture's coming up, I had the great honor of being invited by my 5th grade class that is graduating tomorrow night to come back to Hoover Wood as they reconnected with their elementary school and those who are a part of their journey. For some of those kids, I have not seen them since their last day of school with me 7 years ago. Others I see quite regularly, but nevertheless, I want to tell not only the seniors who are part of 5S that are part of this photograph that I will cherish forever, but to all the graduating seniors, no matter what elementary school you went to or who your teachers there were, and then to your teachers at Rotolo, and finally the ones you spent the last 4 years with at BHS. We are all so incredibly proud of you and the adults that you've become. Please know that there will always be a little part of you written into the fabric of our lives, and we hope that you'll take a little piece of us with you as well, wherever that road leads you next. Be proud of your accomplishments, be diligent in your pursuits that you will undertake next in your life, And for my kiddos in that picture in 5S, I hope you remember a poem I gave you on our last day of school together. It talks about how some people measure success in terms of monetary gains or inanimate possessions. But for you, I hope that you measure success not by the money in your bank account or the car you may end up driving. I want you to measure it by the friends you have, the friends you will make, and treating everyone you meet, whether family or stranger, with kindness and empathy. Being clean of heart and broad of mind and to the stranger kind is how that poem ended when I gave it to you 7 years ago. I hope you all remember this as you walk across that stage tomorrow night and set forth into the world as a Batavia graduate. So congratulations to all the graduating seniors. Go out and do great things. Thanks.
Thanks, Todd. Next is committee updates, but I'll hand it over to Lisa first.
Yeah, we have so many committees in this district, and this is an opportunity for all staff to come together, make decisions, have voice. And what we do at this part of the meeting is we have each board member who is, you sit and observe these committees one at a time. One board member gets assigned per committee as an observer, and this is the time of the meeting that you would normally share out. And part of the committee's charge, when they finish a meeting, jointly the committees, sometimes they run out of time, but jointly they're supposed to write a statement that's the summary of that meeting, and we do post those for all the staff. And so that's usually what you would share at this part of the meeting. Craig did contact you and give you, as the president, he assigns you to your committees. So he's already contacted you and made those assignments for next year. So at this point, you probably don't have any updates to share because things ramp down real quick in May. There are, for 5 of the committees, they provided a mid-year update to the board in December or February. That would be PLAC, CAC, RAC, Student Services, and the Equity Team. So there were 5 committee updates mid-year, and then they have a year-end summary as well. And you can find that, we are on our website. If you're a staff member or you have staff email, which you do, you go to the staff tab, and then you'll be able to see under under topics. Holly just placed this year-end summary there. So you go to the intranets, and then you look at the topics, and you'll see committee, collaborative committees, and that will, if you wanted to review those summaries, and I think they'll be really helpful as you move forward next year or this summer with starting to think about a strategic plan, because there's some really good insights there of things that you should be, recommendations for you as a board to focus on, because you can't focus on everything, and it's your job to pick some high-level, really high-impact strategies and give the rest of the district direction and say, these are the 3 most important things. So this will be a good source of data for you as you start to think about that. And any other questions?
How will we know where to go, or will they contact us, or do we have to reach out to them?
You'll be added, so every committee has an email group, and then Brad, I think, manages all those email groups, so he has the list of who's on what. So he's gonna add you to those committee groups, and then you'll also get Google invites to the meetings.
You'll get a bunch of notifications that you've been added to Google Calendar.
In like July, mid-July.
Okay.
Good question.
Good question. Any other questions? No? Okay, seeing that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. According to our board policy, we.
I'm sorry.
Oh, back up. Yes, sir.
I actually have a committee update.
Oh, my lord. Look at you go get her. No, go ahead.
May I provide one?
Please.
You may, please.
So, well, the stipend committee, which Steve oversees, we met, and I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that since I've been part of it for the past, I think, 6 months now, there's been some really great strides. The stipend committee oversees funds distributed to groups, activities at all 3 levels of schools, whether it's, I don't know the right definition for it, any type of group activity that has been established and has a sponsor for over 2 years. So they decide as a committee, where these funds are gonna be distributed, if there's new groups that are coming, if there's groups that need changes, if there's new coaches, if there's things like that. And they've been doing a really good job the past couple months just reorganizing everything so that we know exactly who submitted what stipend at what time, and they're kind of in a nice order. And also, they've been reaching out, they've been making a lot of effort to make sure that the folks that want to have these groups and activities are actually applying appropriately. One of the things that they ran into last year, the feedback was they were missing the deadlines and people didn't know that they're missing it. So really good job this year, I think, of making sure we hit the deadline. On the flip side of that, as we're going through negotiation, there wasn't a lot of decisions that wanted to be made yet until that had all gone through. So Steve sent out a really nice letter to let everybody know, we've got your information. We're gonna be getting together early and right before school starts again to make some decisions. Which, again, a nice call out to that group, because they're committing extra time to get together before school starts. So, just wanna commend the stipend committee, because they're doing a really great job. The other thing that I just learned about is a program called Summer Melt. Have any of you guys heard of this? So Summer Melt is, and I need you to correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but the idea behind this is identifying students that are at risk for attending post-secondary schools. So in the last year, the school counselors identified 122 students that were at risk, where they didn't think, the student had planned to go to university and they were worried that they might not pull through with it. Maybe they are first generation, maybe they didn't know how to fill out the FAFSA, maybe they didn't know exactly all the steps to take to get to it. So they actually work with those students over the summer to help them get into college. So I thought that was just really a great one. And I asked Steve, at some point, I'm hoping we can get some actual numbers.
He has a number.
Oh, do you actually have the numbers on
Yeah,
it?
they worked with 54 students
Okay,
over last summer,
nice.
Is that,
get them in.
is that junior to senior year? Or
Senior to
after senior?
college.
So after they graduate? you
The
work with them?
statistics around students who say, yeah, I'm going to college, and then over that
But you're
summer
not.
period, you see that melt off, which is why they call that the summer melt. And those kids who had intended and have the grades and sometimes scholarships don't end up registering, going to, those appointments. So this is a little bit of a push, and it's a lot of contact by a couple of our counselors at the high school that do that and work with those students, and they've seen good results.
Yeah, and the other nice thing about this is they have applied for and received $5,000 in grants towards this, so that's also nice.
Yeah, shout out to Valise, who is
Yeah.
one of our partners. They are a big supporter of supporting this program, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
All right, that's it.
That is a very good report to interrupt me on. Fantastic, thank you, sir.
Happy to do so.
Better than me just saying beefy meats tomorrow.
Can't wait till next month. All right, so unless there is anything else from anyone else before I move on. Okay, consent agenda. According to our board policy, we designate a portion of the agenda as a consent agenda for those items that usually do not require extensive discussion before board action. These items generally are routine, recurring, and can be grouped together for efficiency. Steve, I hear you drew the short straw. Would you like to run?
I'm the all-time quarterback, actually.
I know, I
Okay.
know.
And before I jump into this real quick, there was a question about the meal price increase, and if you've done a deep dive into board docs, which I don't recommend, but the last 6 years, you will always see this as a consent agenda item, whether you know this or not. The reason for this is the government sets like a rate for the prices, and we're well below that rate. And so our approach has been on an annual basis to bump it up that 10 cents to kind of get closer and closer to that rate. And so you will continue to see this most likely on this consent agenda at this time of year on an annual basis. So just to give you a heads up on that and the rationale for why we operate that way. So let's jump into this. 4.1 and 4.2 is the approval of the April 25th, 2023 regular and special meeting minutes. As Lisa spoke about, 4.3 and 4.4 is the approval of the May 19th, 2023 special meeting and closed session minutes. 4.5 is our monthly personnel report. 4.6 is the monthly payroll and bills. 4.7 is the destruction of our closed session recordings from November 16th, 2021. 4.8, we had one donation, a sizable donation from the Batavia Wrestling Club to support wrestling mats and kids going to wrestling camp at Batavia High School. 4.9 is our textbook approval, which is sitting right over here by Dr. Newkirk. 4.10 is the approval of the mentioned meal price increase. 4.11 is the approval of our food service contract extension. 4.12 is the appointment of our auditors. 4.13 is the approval of our stop-loss insurance contract. 4.14 is the approval of our Google Workspace for Education contract. And 4.15 is the approval of this consent agenda.
Anyone have any questions or anything that?
I have one comment.
Yep.
And it's just gonna follow up on Steve's elaboration on the meal price increase. So I did reach out and had a couple questions about it, and Josh responded very quickly. And I just asked, how does we're asking families to pay compared to our colleagues up and down the river, and I can just tell the community that we're very competitive in that regard. So folks can know that we're giving a really good value on that. So thank you for that, appreciate it.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Yeah, sure.
So my question is for the textbook approval. So that one is 11, we're going for 11 years out of date, so say. What determines like what's out of date? I guess my question is.
The high school sets up a cycle where they take a look at these, because textbooks aren't something that we have for every content area, but AP and dual credit require them as we get that outside curriculum. So they say you have to use certain textbooks. So we put all of those courses on a cycle of reviewing those. And when it comes up in their rotation at the high school, if the high school teachers are like, yep, that's up for renewal, we put in CNI a small budget for renewals of textbooks each year, and they kind of make the decisions about where they kind of rank in terms of the different needs. Sometimes the needs are based on, we've had a large number of kids, so we need more textbooks. Other times it's, this textbook's out of date, so we need to take a look at it.
And you said this is only for high school? Like, I'm just saying that elementary or middle schools, they don't have, I know they don't always have.
They don't have a cycle like that, yeah, that would come through their curriculum process. But the high school, because of dual credit and AP, they have a cycle of all those classes that we run, that they take a look at those textbooks.
Thank you, Brad. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no further comment or revisions, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Mike, all in favor? The roll.
You would say moved by,
Yeah, moved by Aaron, second by RJ.
and then you would say that down there.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any
Motion,
opposed?
any opposed? Thank you. All right, hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. And reports, I'll turn it back over to Lisa.
Every month you see the treasurer's reports, and there's nothing unusual or different this month on those reports, nothing that stands out. But this is your opportunity to review them. We also have FOIA report every month, but this month we didn't reply to any FOIAs, so there was nothing there to show. And then the next, but I would entertain any questions that you have about the treasurer's report. And then this part of the agenda is reports, meaning there's no action. And I will turn it over to Tony for the next report.
We invite up the representatives from the city of Aurora to join us at the podium. They are here to talk about an exciting development that is about to get underway, which is in the city of Aurora, but within the Batavia School District. And it's adjacent to the outlet mall and would be the new Hollywood Casino to be constructed there very soon.
Good evening. My name is Alex Alexandru. I am the Chief Management Officer for the City of Aurora. We are pleased to be able to join you tonight. Thank you for welcoming us. While we physically may be quite a ways away from Bilter and Farnsworth, where the new casino is going to be located, it is in fact, as you well know, based on the very successful experience of our Chicago Premium Outlet Mall within the jurisdiction of School District 101. In fact, that is known in our circles as the most successful TIF in Illinois, if not one of the most successful in the country. So with that backdrop, we wanted to come tonight to update you on the relocation of the Hollywood Casino from downtown Aurora to property immediately west of the Chicago Premium Outlet Mall on Farnsworth. So tonight, in addition to myself, pleased to have with us Chris Minnick, our Chief Financial Officer and City Treasurer, Trevor Dick, Assistant Director of the Mayor's Office of Economic Development, and also joined, not speaking, but here is Alderman at Large Ron Warman, who also has children in the Batavia School District and lives in the vicinity off of Bilter. So really wanted to update you comprehensively about the new casino, especially with a focus on financial impact, because I'm sure that will be of keen interest to all of you. So with that, I want to turn it over to Chris, and Trevor and I may be back up, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you, Alex. Chris Minnick, as Alex indicated, I'm the Chief Financial Officer and City Treasurer for the City of Aurora. It's been widely reported, and Alex mentioned it tonight, that the Aurora Hollywood Casino is moving from its current location in the downtown out to an area out just north of I-88, proximate to Bilter and Farnsworth. And while there are many factors that have contributed to the decision to move, there are a couple of major factors that I'd like to talk to you about now. The primary factor is a decline in attendance at the existing casino facility, as well as the resultant decline in revenue as a result of the decline that has happened in the attendance figures. Additionally, over the past 30 years, there have been some significant changes in the gaming industry, and particularly as it applies in Illinois. The relocation of the casino to the site at Bilter and Farnsworth will allow the developer to take advantage of many of those changes that have occurred over the last 30 years. And the new location at Bilter and Farnsworth will allow them to have a new, modern, and expandable facility and, as they develop, to be able to adjust to future changes in the gaming industry. The development of the new casino site will be, or is actually governed by a redevelopment agreement that was passed by the city and entered into and executed with the developer in the fall of 2022. And my goal tonight is to outline the financial impacts of some of the more significant provisions of that redevelopment agreement, and specifically how they impact Batavia School District 101. But before I get into those factors, I'd like to go through a little bit of the background related to the site itself. The site consists of 9 parcels. 3 of those parcels are developed, 6 of them are vacant, and 5 of the 9 are actually already owned by the City of Aurora. They were acquisitions in prior years. Currently, those 9 properties generate a little over $48,000 in total property taxes. And of that $48,000, about $29,850 comes to School District 101. The predominant number of sites of parcels, that make up the casino site are in the city's existing TIF District number 7. TIF District number 7 goes back to approximately 2010, 2011, and we expect that it will expire at the end of calendar year 2034. And of significance, those 9 parcels that make up the future casino site are currently not contributing to any of the TIF revenues for TIF number 7. All of those parcels are either tax exempt, they're below the base value that was ascribed to the properties during the imposition of the TIF district, or in the case of 1 or 2 of the parcels, they're actually outside of the TIF currently.
Can I interrupt for 1 second, Mr. Minnick? Could
Yeah.
you explain what a TIF is?
TIF is a tax increment financing district. That's a specific development zone, essentially, that is set up. And the purpose of the TIF is to provide economic incentives so that development can occur. Typically, what happens, there's an analysis done that a developer wants to develop a certain property with a certain use or for a specific purpose, and for whatever reason, the economics of the site simply do not allow for the development of that particular parcel. A TIF district is a tool that allows for cost assistance incentives to come back to the developer, and it's paid. The whole premise of a TIF is the property tax rate or property tax revenue is frozen based on the value of the TIF district when the TIF is established. Then as the development occurs, the assessed value of that particular parcel or area rises. The increase in the value provides the revenue to be able to take on those economic incentives. That's a TIF 101 really quickly.
Yeah, thank you. You're using that word a lot. I want to make sure the community understood what you were talking
Absolutely, absolutely. So as I mentioned, there is no contribution to TIF number 7 from these 9 parcels currently. The redevelopment agreement, as it was passed, actually calls for creation of a new micro TIF, a small TIF that is extremely focused in its purpose and in its scale to be able to provide the incentives that we talked about a second ago. Only the casino property would be included in the new micro TIF, only those 9 parcels. And the city is currently in the process of developing that micro TIF. There's a specific legal process that has to occur when a TIF district is created. There are certain studies and plans that need to be prepared. We're in the process of preparing and finalizing those reports now. Additionally, there's a series of public meetings and public hearings that need to happen when you create a TIF district, and we're in the process of developing the schedule for those hearings and meetings, with the goal being that we would finalize and establish the TIF district prior to December 31st of 2023. So how does the RDA impact the current situation that exists between School District 101 and the City of Aurora? There is an existing intergovernmental agreement that was entered into in late 2011. It includes the city's TIFs 7 and 8. Essentially, TIF 8 is immaterial for this discussion. The site is actually located in TIF 7. One of the provisions of that particular agreement actually calls for the city to declare a surplus of 10% of the gross incremental revenues on an annual basis. What that means is there is a provision in the TIF code that provides that once a surplus is declared, those funds are turned over to the county. And then the county goes through a process to split and rebate those surplus revenues among the overlapping districts that are contained within the TIF. That process is handled in the code, and the city is required to declare under the intergovernmental agreement 10% of the incremental revenues as surplus. For the most recently completed year, in calendar year 2022, that process resulted in a payment of approximately $39,000 to School District 101. We do expect that during calendar year 2023 or early 2024, as a result of that process, the school district will receive an additional $40,000 from that particular surplus. Additionally, moving forward and discussing some of the RDA provisions, the casino, like any other property owner, will be liable for property taxes once it owns all the properties related to the casino site. Any of the incremental taxes that are generated by those 9 parcels will inure to the benefit of the new micro TIF district. The city plans to use those incremental revenues to pay debt service on the bond issue that the city will be issuing a little bit later on this year to fund the city's contributions to the casino development. However, the RDA, the redevelopment agreement, also contains a provision that if the incremental taxes are less than $5.25 million in any year, then the casino will make a payment to the city for the difference. So if those 9 parcels that make up the future casino site generate, say, $4 million in incremental property tax revenue, the casino will write a check to the city for $1,250,000. That works out to be essentially a guarantee of incremental revenues of $5.25 million annually. This particular provision of the redevelopment agreement begins 2 years after the bonds are issued, and it will continue any year while the bonds are outstanding. So under the terms of the new micro-TIF, the city, for its part, intends to continue to honor the 10% annual surplus distribution for the new casino micro-TIF. What this means is $525,000 will be declared surplus annually. That represents 10% of the incremental revenues of $5,250,000. Based on the school district's portion of the tax bill of 61.6% of the property tax bill, that would result in a payment to the school district on an annual basis of $323,400. Additionally, the existing intergovernmental agreement would continue in existence, and we would continue to pay the 10% annual surplus for the remaining properties in TIF number 7 until TIF number 7 expires in 2034. We do anticipate that that would, as I mentioned a moment ago, be approximately $40,000 annually. The next slide just simply shows and reflects what happens under the current arrangement, under the blue bar on that graph, and what the new annual surplus distribution to the school district would be after the development of the TIF. So as we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, approximately $29,850 comes to the school district via the tax bills from those 9 properties. And we would anticipate that once the new casino is up and running and has been constructed and is operating, that there would be a payment of $323,000 annually, which means an increase of approximately $293,000 being paid to the school district on an annual basis. Over the life of the TIF, that would accumulate to approximately $6.8 million compared to a revenue stream of about $686,000 if the current condition were allowed to continue for the next 23 years. That represents an increase of about $6.1 million in revenue and payment to the district over that lifespan of the micro-TIF. Additionally, once the new micro-TIF closes, about 23 or 24 years from now, the school district would receive about $3.2 million in property taxes annually from the casino development, assuming that the casino property continues to generate that $5,250,000 in property taxes. And on the last slide, for my part of the presentation, in addition, we would continue to make the payments under the existing intergovernmental agreement of approximately $40,000 annually. That number will fluctuate a little bit as the value of the property changes within TIF number 7. And over the remaining 11-year life of the TIF, we anticipate that the school district would see revenues of approximately $440,000, in addition to the new micro-TIF tax dollars. So those are pretty much the salient points of the redevelopment agreement and how they impact the school district. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have relative to those items.
I have one question. So the timing of the 323,000, when would we expect to receive that?
Probably around 2026. As I mentioned, the bonds, we're anticipating issuing the bonds in calendar '23, and then that individual provision of the redevelopment agreement takes place or kicks in 2 years after the issuance of the bonds. Okay.
Just a couple of clarifying points. The $5.25 million is not a cap. It's not a ceiling. We were very adamant that it had to be that as a minimum, and that's why the provision of the RDA has them kicking in to get it back up to that level. We needed that to make the math work to cover fully the bond service without impacting, very important to the city of Aurora, that we preserve our gaming tax revenues that we use for different opportunities to fund in the city of Aurora. So we did not want debt service to erode off of our gaming tax. And so it was a very significant achievement for us to have the casino and Penn Gaming approve it. Just a real quick about the project itself before I turn it over to Trevor. We're at close to $400 million investment. This is going to be a Las Vegas-style resort. This is not simply going to be a casino that you see along the highway in Iowa or Michigan. This is truly a comprehensive resort. It will be a minimum 4-star hotel, 5 restaurants, a spa, a significant event center, and a state-of-the-art casino. And as you know, Penn is one of the top casino companies in the world, not just the city of the United States. And they made a significant acquisition of Barstool Sports. So this will have a significant draw in the Chicago region. In fact, we firmly believe this will become the #1 casino in the region, and we'll wait to see what Chicago decides to do. But as far as a suburban location as a draw, we firmly believe this will exceed all projections and expectations. So just wanted to lay that out to you as well, and then I wanted to bring Trevor up quickly to talk about kind of the site plan and some other things as part of the improvements.
Can I ask a financial question before that?
Yes, sir.
I'm just wondering, what the impact is on the Aurora School District?
Well, you're talking about the Aurora School District where the casino is currently?
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about what they're getting currently and then what the future may hold?
Yeah, currently, there is some property tax revenue that does inure to the benefit of the school district from that casino site. The school district, the plans are, the redevelopment agreement actually considers that once the new casino is up and moved into the new location, the developer will be responsible for removing the current casino and returning it to a developable state for the city. So at that point, there will likely be some sort of development on the existing casino site, and that would contribute to the property tax revenue for the school district in Aurora at that particular point in time.
Which school district?
It's
131.
131.
But we have some significant plans in the works, which we're not ready to publicly talk about yet, for the site once it's restored back and the old casino is completely removed.
How long will the restoring the site take? About,
Right now, the casino's going to operate while the construction begins, so that's going to be approximately 2 years. So it's going to be probably sometime in 2025 before that. So again, it's a timing thing because they're able to continue to operate the casino for as long as they can before they turn the lights off and start the wrecking ball. So they want to time it so that they open up and lose as little time as possible. That's in everyone's best interest. Trevor?
Okay, Polly, thank you. Okay, so we had a very successful open house last week. We had a lot of residents, some board members, and Tony were there. And it was a very positive, informational gathering session, very well attended. We had representatives of the city, as well as the casino, and a whole bunch of consultants. And so I wanted to show you really quickly the illustrations that were shown at that open house. The first drawing here is the site plan. If you can visualize north being to the top part of the screen, That's Farnsworth running north-south, Bilter across the top, Church Road in the back. It's very difficult to see probably from where you're sitting, but it's a color-coded map. There's a legend. Essentially, you'll see a 3D rendering at the end of my slides that'll show you a little bit more. But the purple is the casino. There's gray, the darker gray is surface parking. There's a 1,700 space parking garage. In the lighter gray, the hotel juts out on an angle. There'll be 5 restaurants across the front, as well as an event space that Alex mentioned for small concerts and mixed martial arts, boxing, things like that nature. One thing that's really in the new casinos now, which I think I personally like, is now if you have a family or even if you don't like gambling, you can access the restaurants, the hotel, the spa, the event center without even stepping foot in the casino. If you remember back in the day, you'd have to go through the casino first and try and find all of that. They've realized that really eliminates a lot of the visitors, families, et cetera. So this is going to be a very exciting site plan here. If you go to the next slide, Holly. Traffic and transportation was one of the biggest concerns we heard from the very beginning. So we hired our consultant, Penn hired their consultant. We also have our own Public Works Transportation Department. So the 3 of them work together on reviewing each other's work. We have a very detailed traffic study. It's very, very thick. And once again, I apologize, it's very probably difficult for you to see here, but we looked at this part here for the transportation improvements adjacent to the site. And so we've got where Farnsworth's going to be widened, 3 lanes in each direction with turn lanes, improved signals, turn lanes, decel lanes. We've also been working with the tollway. They're going to open up that second off-ramp when you're going westbound to go north. That was a coin only. They're going to make that an I-pass as well because they don't do the coin anymore, so we'll have 2 ramps. We're also considering a direct lane from that ramp directly into the outlet mall. So it would be a dedicated lane, which we think would also help with traffic flow, so we're working on that. So we've got a lot of great improvements for the area. And then the next slide, Holly. Bilter Road, which is still in the the Batavia School District. We're also going to be widening this to 4 lanes. So 2 lanes in each direction to match what is existing on the west of Premium Outlet Boulevards and to the east across the bike trail. One thing that we're including in our project is a design of a pedestrian bridge over Bilter so that at-grade bike crossing that's there right now can be a grade separated crossing for safety for bicyclists as well as pedestrians. We think that's a great benefit to this whole project as well.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Bilter Road, from where to where is it gonna get widened?
Yes, so if you see, I don't have a pointer, I'm sorry, but you see where the main Premium Boulevard Drive comes up? Thank you, Alex. Here comes my pointer. Go ahead, Alex.
So, this is the Bilter entry, which you get into the outlet mall here.
That's Pepsi just to the left.
So it will be widened, where's Farnsworth? That's not quite on here, but it's gonna be widened all the way here, all the way to, almost near DuPage Parkway.
Eola?
Almost towards the,
Correct.
yes.
So the city owns all this acreage here, it's about 50 acres. And so we're in the process of obviously acquiring the property necessary to widen Bilter, hopefully with a median, and Trevor mentioned improvements on Farnsworth, there's gonna be a median as well along Farnsworth, some restrictions from turning left, which has backed up traffic in the past as cars were heading northbound. So we tried to not only look at the casino area itself, but pull the lens back and look at impact north, south, east, and west of the casino. Because remember, 8 million visitors come to the most successful outlet mall, one of them in the country. So we were trying to leverage the 8 million visitors with what we're doing at the casino.
And these road expansions are gonna happen concurrently with the construction of the casino, so that hopefully when the casino opens, the roads are done and it's all signed up.
That's the plan. Best laid plans.
Right.
Correct.
'Cause I'm just, so the people that are living there, I'm sure that's a concern for them, is that,
Correct. Correct.
Thank you, Alex. You were a great pointer. Thank you. You might want to stay up there just in case, but.
That's why we have a whole road that nobody
Yeah.
sits in.
So, and as Alex said, Holly, if you go to the next slide, as Alex said, instead of just looking at a typical development, and just looking at the adjacent roadway and the signals, as Alex said, we pulled the lens back because we knew traffic and transportation was going to be so important to this project. And so you can look at our traffic study. We even looked at intersections south of ID8, for example. And at each of these intersections, there's recommendations, if there's going to be projected traffic and what those improvements could be. And so at the open house, we talked to a lot of the residents who had a lot of questions, and they seemed to be very happy with the plan that we had to help make sure that we had great transportation flow in the area. Okay, next slide. This here is the 3D rendering. This is the current concept right now. Their architects are from Las Vegas. We continue to work with them on literally sharpening their pencil. But this is the vision for what this casino campus complex will look like. You can see the parking garage on the left, the casino in the middle, and then the hotel on the right. The hotel, as Alex said earlier, is a 4-star hotel, about a 225-room hotel with a spa. The 5 restaurants are going to be some amazing restaurants that I don't know exactly which ones they're going to be yet, but the casino is very excited about the people they're talking to. Of course, the parking garage on the bottom left as well.
Can I ask how many jobs is this going to generate?
Well, that's a great question. And so close to, was it 1,500 permanent jobs? 1,500 or maybe 2,000 permanent jobs. And I used to have a guesstimate for the construction jobs, but it's a very significant number. And it's a 2-year project, and we believe them that it'll be 2 years because they want to get this open and running as well. So we're very excited. That's, Holly, I think that's the last picture. But once again, I just wanted to give you a highlight of the renderings that we showed at the open house. We also, if you have any other questions that maybe I didn't talk about, or if you think about it later after tonight, on the Aurora Hollywood Casino's website, you can go there and they have an FAQ, a frequently asked questions. They have about 29 questions and answers of the commonly asked questions that we've received over the last year since we've been planning this. So that's another great resource if you have any questions after tonight.
Questions?
I actually have a question for Alderman Warman. I know the TIF, micro TIF has to be approved. I know you can't see into the future or speak for your colleagues necessarily, but you don't, the city doesn't anticipate any problems getting that approved?
We actually, if I can speak to that, we actually, I want to say did it, I'm sorry. We first introduced it under Mayor Irvin's administration starting in 2017, and all the micro TIFs we've used have been spectacular successes. One of the benefits of a micro TIF is it's a very focused, limited scope, so you're not unnecessarily encumbering other properties like the old application of a large TIF. So the micro TIF really is targeted to a project. So if you come to downtown Aurora, for example, the former School District 129, West Aurora headquarters, which was in downtown, that was a micro TIF and it was slated to be torn down. So it is a very successful apartment building in downtown Aurora, market rate apartment right on the river. What's in it? Give me another micro TIF.
Copley Hospital?
Oh, I can't forget the former Copley Hospital. Anybody that's familiar with Aurora knows, Far East Side, the old Copley Hospital was basically a cancer on the east side of Aurora. And through the strategic use of micro TIF, finding the right development group, use of historic tax credits, I won't bore you with all the details, $116 million redevelopment. And I encourage all of you to go and see the new Bloomhaven campus. It includes Weston Bridges, which is a very pioneering, not many in the country, maybe less than 10, living for persons with cognitive and other disabilities, along with senior living that they just opened. There's also going to be a new health clinic back in the community, Fox Valley Park District Park with a splash pad, beautiful walking path, all because we micro TIF'd it and that leveraged a lot of opportunity financially for incentives. So we're very proud of that, and, you know, TIFs get a bad name, rightfully so, in some areas of Illinois because they were not used properly. We don't do that in the city of Aurora.
That was my question, because I know they are controversial in a lot of circles, and it's
They are
because
when they're used
a general area where.
the wrong way.
They're, and someone will say, we'll develop it, but it's not
Correct.
specific.
And remember,
Detailed plan.
Chris mentioned, the increment, the I in TIF, the increment is what really drives the ability to put these millions of dollars together to create these projects which otherwise would not have happened. And so we had a decision to make in downtown Aurora and as a city. This was not a referendum on gaming. That happened 30-plus years ago when they decided to put the casino there. This was really a simple choice. If the casino remained in downtown, given its declining performance, it would have ultimately gone away. So it was move or leave it where it is, and none of us wanted a white elephant building that we would get stuck with. And so this really was a win-win, and I think this is certainly a tremendous opportunity for the Batavia School District. And as we appreciated your support from the Outlet Mall, we very much look forward to your support on this important project. So stay tuned, exciting things ahead, and I'm sure no one's going to mind that 800 or 900%. That was not a typo on there. That was a pretty healthy increase, and I know you'll put that money to good use.
Any other questions?
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your service.
We have a copy of it. Do you mind if we share it across the board members of this presentation? It's up to you guys.
No problem. It's a public document.
That's what I thought you were gonna say. Thank you. Okay.
And we're available for any questions afterwards, and we appreciate Tony participating too.
Thank you, appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Policy reading?
Yep, we do have one more report, and it is policy. So in Illinois, most every school board belongs to the Illinois Association of School Boards, and one of the great benefits is that we pay an annual fee of $750 to get advice on policy. At any time the legislature meets and makes a decision, it probably touches, there's an example on this policy report, it probably touched 10 different policies. And so they have a group of attorneys and advisors and volunteer educators that meet and go through all of the school code and make sure that they'll tell us, we get a press report, you can log into IASB and see it at any time. If you're having trouble sleeping, it's a great document to read, but they give us 4 a year, so they take all of the changes and give us 4 reports a year. And then, once those reports come in our hands, it says, here's all the changes, here's why we're making the changes. Then we go and we look at our policy. Sometimes we have homegrown policies, so we have to figure out how to marry the two. And so then our cabinet, senior management and cabinet look through all of those recommendations and bring the ones that make sense to your attention. So you always read policies twice. So this is your first reading, and then you can look it over. If you had a question tonight, great. Otherwise, you can let us know in the meantime if you have questions, and we'll bring it back for discussion at the next meeting. Those are policies. Those are like your rules and your laws and the way that our district is governed. And then there are procedures that go along with it, and those don't require board approval. Press also makes recommended procedures. So if the legislature says we have to do an employee history review, an EHR, real simple, just ask every single place that this person has ever worked if they had any misconduct. And then it's well-intended, but now we have to change 10 policies, plus we have to put procedures together to actually implement that. So that's why you see a lot of changes to procedures here that Steve and his department will have to implement, because now we have to talk to every employer, basically, of every person that we hire and ask for records, and then it's two ways. So also, if somebody has ever worked for us, we have to be able to communicate with their new employer. And so there's a lot of different procedures on how we're going to implement that. So those are called administrative procedures. We show them to you. If you don't have any questions, we go ahead and implement them. And exhibits are like, it could be a sample letter that we use, or the two that are on here are the exhibit. Here's the list of everything that we have to put on our website that we have to make available to the public. So those are called exhibits. That is a history lesson on IASB policy, and when we use the word press, we try as much as we can to align with press, because otherwise we're needing to consult our own attorneys, and like I said, this is $750 for a year for all of this expert advice on how to align our policy with the school code. So you have this policy report. I don't know if you have any questions now, or if you want to look through it and bring me questions that we could talk about next time. I'd entertain either right now.
Any questions? I think when I was a brand-new board member, you gave me a binder this thick and said, go off and read it. Give us your recommendations, so appreciate you guys doing
Yeah.
the hard work this time. So,
Yeah, you're welcome. So just the summary of all the changes we have to make, and then the red line versions is 177 pages long for this issue of press, and we get that usually 4 times a year. So, and this one's actually short. Sometimes they could be 300 pages that we have to go through, and so that's why we try to always align with press, because it makes that review easier, because our red line would match their red line. When we do a homegrown policy, like for example, we had one on instructional materials, but now we have 3 different policies that talk about instructional materials, which is why we're doing a little cleanup here, so we could just match press, because it's confusing, which one is the board's policy if it's in 3 different policies. So we try to stay to press whenever possible.
all right, any further questions? All right,
Okay.
next are items for action, curriculum contracts. Brad, I believe?
I miscategorized this, and it should have been in the consent agenda, because these are existing
Whoops.
contracts that we have with either testing agencies or subscription services that we have used for a number of years. You can see the report there about NWEA, who does our MAP testing, Formative, which is an online platform that quickly grades assessments, and then Naviance, which is both a tool for building career awareness and also getting kids looking at colleges. So that's the portal for that. Those are 3-year contracts that will renew for next year.
So as you said earlier, this is a good example of one of those things that would be in a consent agenda because it's a regularly occurring
It's a regularly
thing.
occurring,
Don't
something
need
that
to
you
explain
haven't.
it every year. Okay, but I appreciate you taking the time to explain it this year. Any questions?
I guess I do have one question on, like, these type of situations, would we know, are these increases from what we previously paid? And then your thoughts on whether, if it is an increase, is it acceptable?
Yeah, we take a look at those costs every year. Everything goes up every year. So most of these contracts are up about $2,000 to $3,000 from the previous year. So that is about the going rate for those. When subscriptions become too costly, we do really evaluate that, because our budget isn't unlimited, and there's always a well of need for subscription services. When I started this job 13 years ago, it was maybe like a pretty small percentage of my budget that we spent on subscriptions, and now it's, I would say it's a huge part of the curriculum and instruction budget, is to make sure that we have access to all of these tools. So it's grown exponentially over the past 10 years. We try and maintain consistency so teachers get used to having access to certain tools, but also minding, sometimes they go up like exorbitant rates. People do different like ways that they charge for that, whether it's per student, per site, and sometimes they make a shift that we don't find acceptable. And other times, vendors don't keep up their product in terms of safety, in terms of student data safety, or the product itself becomes really stale over time, or teachers are asking for a change too sometimes. So,
Any other questions?
I would just say like something like that, IXL is something you've used for years.
Yeah, we've used that, I think, 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, and the Naviance, I know, is something they've also used for quite a few years too, that, just provide consistency, I think is important too, that.
Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the one-year contract estimates to IXL annual license in the amount of $40,750. Northwest Evaluation Association and a WEA for $47,250. Formative for $41,762.49. And Power School / Naviance for $29,484.53.
So moved.
Second.
You, Aaron, or? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Great. The next part of the agenda, I just took over for you, sorry, is administrative comments, so it is my turn. And I have a couple tonight. First of all, just a quick celebration. Amy Nelson arranged a community partner breakfast here last week, and she invited all of those community organizations that help provide services for our students and families. And there were just so many specific examples shared of, they outfitted a dorm room for a student who needed it, or a college apartment for someone who needed it, to food security, rent payments, things like that. And every organization that was invited just had the opportunity to share about some of the great things they were doing. It was a great celebration. Chip In, United Way, the Batavia Mothers Club, Chapel Street Food Pantry, a couple others from the ministerial, St. Vincent de Paul, many different groups that just step in when we have a family that needs something. And the way it was said is they won the lottery if they move to Batavia, if they're a family in need, because there are people who will step up and help. So that was a great celebration, and thank you to all those community groups. Also, for my comments tonight, I wanted to talk about upcoming board meetings. We have a couple extra board meetings. The next one is next Wednesday. We have it on the calendar for a 5 p.m. special meeting to talk about negotiations, hopefully approving the new VEA contract at that meeting on May 31st. We have our regular meeting on June 20th. On June 27th, we have Tom Kim, who's here hiding in the back row, who will be joining you all for a very special board workshop. And I know you have a lot of I know. So IASB will be helping you. Yeah, exactly. Laura Martinez, who is a Batavia parent, but also your field director for the Illinois Association of School Boards, will come and facilitate that meeting, and she'll talk about what it means to be a Board of Education. And that is just the kickoff of you guys thinking about strategy and your leadership. And like I already mentioned once, strategic planning is really something that you need to jump into. And a couple examples, I already shared the example of like coming up with, we can't do everything, so let's look to the committees and look to the staff and the administration and say, what are some of the big things that the board should be focused on? And you guys set that tone and say, these are our priorities, and you have that work coming up. Another example of something that we need to talk about, we'll put it on the agenda for June, but the referendum. So we need to circle back and start thinking at a high level what the next steps are. It really, in November, it was close. People told us, put it back on the ballot. We didn't understand the question. We put the question back on the ballot. People didn't necessarily love that we put the same question back on the ballot. It did not pass in April when we put it back on. But we definitely had people's attention. We definitely communicated it. So we can interpret the no vote to say this wasn't the right plan. So what do we do next? This plan has been in the works since 2017, and so we need to think of a different strategy as a board. So we can start that discussion at the June meeting, but that is really something that'll be ongoing over the next few months as we think about a strategy, because our facility needs are real. You just got an email today from somebody wanting you to talk about our facilities, and and it's valid. We do have needs in our facilities. And then, maybe an upcoming topic at one of those meetings could also be TIFs, because you, heard quite a great presentation today, but they're not the only TIF in town. So maybe Tony can talk through, again, just that background for everybody. What is a TIF, but also what TIFs lie within our district, and what does it mean? Just to, as a fun, exciting agenda item at some upcoming meeting.
We're gonna pair it right with comprehensive annual report. It'll just keep everybody wide awake.
Yeah. Those are my updates, unless anybody has questions or comments for me about any upcoming topics.
All right. Seen that. Board comments are next. Sue, since you arranged everything, I was gonna start at that end, and congratulations, you put yourself into it. I'm gonna let you start.
Fine, I'm gonna be short and sweet. Congratulations to all the graduates, and I hope everyone has a wonderful summer. That's it.
Danielle's like, you could have talked just a little bit longer.
I have some notes, so sure, I'll take some time. Congratulations to all of our 2023 graduates. I wish them all the best of luck on their future endeavors. Also thinking about the students who are moving from elementary to Rotolo, and from Rotolo to BHS. One of them is my daughter, who is moving on from Storm. I know, I'm like, she's my oldest, so a lot of us are pretty emotional, but we have had such an amazing experience. I still have my son, who is in kinder currently, so we get to enjoy them for a lot longer, but they really did an amazing job over the last 6 years and just getting her ready for the next step. So sad, but really excited. We're really fortunate to have some amazing educators and staff members, really at every level in our district. There's one in particular that I do want to shout out to. Amber Jersa was recognized. I don't know if everyone, I'm sure we've all seen the different communication, but last weekend she went down to Bloomington Normal at the Illinois State Board of Education's Those Who Excel in Teacher of the Year banquet. So there she was recognized and celebrated as the North Suburbs Regional Teacher of the Year. So, I mean, that's a pretty huge deal. I think she was one out of 12 finalists, and I don't know that we've ever had anyone from Batavia be a finalist. So, I mean, that's huge. So I was really, excited to see that, and just, it really brings it back, and I think it's a great time for us all to grow together, and hopefully, I'm sure we're gonna have more to come, and that's really exciting. And just speaking of that, I mean, she was there with different, ISB board members and the IES president and IE directors. So it's just really a great opportunity. I think probably for her and a lot of other educators, they spend so much of their time caring and pouring into everyone else that it's like if you're celebrated, it's kind of, it doesn't sink in, right? So I just want to recognize her because she is amazing, and I don't think that, just like so many other teachers and staff members I know, they'll hear the pats, but I mean, truly it's amazing. And so it really speaks for our district and how fortunate we are. So I just want to take a moment to recognize her as well as all of our awesome other staff members. I also wanted to say next week kicks off Pride Month, so happy Pride Month. And I hope that everyone, no matter if they're going on trips, they're staying around, whether it's a summer of survival or picking up another job, that there are times, just like Todd, speaking of Todd, just being able to take some time and pockets for ourselves so that we can come back in August, a little renewed, ready to grow together, and really ready to go at it. Yeah.
I have comments as well. So I want to thank everyone who attended the meeting tonight, including the City of Aurora, for that detailed presentation. I learned a lot, and I appreciate them answering all our questions. And even though we didn't have any open comment tonight, I do want to thank everybody who attended meetings this year, shared their thoughts, everyone who sends us an email, everyone who meets us on the street and shares thoughts or concerns or praise. I just want to tell people that you are heard. We do listen. It does help drive our discussions. And it really is essential for us to figure out where the district needs to move to. So I know we asked the community to really engage this year, and I do want to thank everybody who participated in that process. And like my colleagues to my right, I do want to talk about commencement. It's tomorrow night at Northern. I believe it's the 152nd time that Batavia High School will hold a commencement ceremony for the class of 2023. I have a daughter who's a junior, so I will know many of those children. And I can tell you that our community is proud of you. We love you. And we're excited to see where your lives lead and what you will accomplish. But I can tell you, if you need us, we are still going to be here supporting you, cheering you on. And I want to wish the graduates and their families. The families are, to get to that road is a lot as someone who has 3 kids. So congratulations to all of them. And then since commencement is a natural time of reflection, I would like to say thank you to a few more folks, starting with our board secretary, Cindy Rodriguez. I want to thank Cindy for her hard work. This was her first year as the board secretary. I'm sure she had a lot to learn, and I just want to thank her for her hard work, her responsiveness, her diligence. You always help us do our work efficiently, even an old dinosaur like me who has to print out paper documents of maybe a few hours before a meeting. So I want to thank you, Cindy, for all you do to support the board and our work. And then just to the greater BPS community, so I want to start by thanking Superintendent Dr. Hitchens. I see Tony got a new nameplate, so now I'll say Dr. Inglese, Dr. Newkirk, Steve, Pierce, Holly Deachman, and everybody who works here at Rosalie Jones for their hard work. I want to thank my fellow board members, Raquel, Danielle, Rob, Craig, RJ, and Sue, for stepping up to serve our community. And I also want to recognize outgoing members, Kathy Dremel, Aaron Meitzler, and Chris Lowe for all their hard work this year and for their previous years of service. And then I especially want to thank our people on the front lines, our hardworking principals and administrative teams, of course our teachers, our paraprofessionals, our aides, counselors, the support staff, our coaches, our nurses and trainers, maintenance and custodial staff, food service and transportation teams, all the parent volunteers, whether it be a PTO, a booster, or just helping out any way you can at your local school that your kids attend. And also, of course, all the local businesses and service organizations that support our school. I mean, it really is a community effort, and we are so fortunate to have so many people that are willing to engage and help our families and kids. And then, of course, just everybody who helps keep our students safe, dry, and comfortable. Sometimes I think we take that for granted, but if you don't have those baseline things covered, it's really hard to learn. And I just want everybody who knows that contributes to anything, that every one of you is essential, and every one of you is seen and appreciated, so thank you for your work. And then finally, I just want to thank the parents in the BPS 101 community. As a man and a family that we have 3 children, my wife Kathleen and I have 3 children. We can't do it ourselves, and we rely on our friends, neighbors, and our community to help raise our children. And together, I think we're doing an amazing job, and tomorrow will sort of be like a nice exclamation point to the job our community is. And then finally, and not least, I want to thank my wife for allowing me to serve on the school board. It does take me away from my family. It is important work, I believe, and I do enjoy the work, but without her support, I could not do this, and she might be watching tonight, so Kathleen, thank you for that. And with that, I just want to say thank you, and I hope everyone has a relaxing and safe summer.
All right, so I'm gonna first start off by calling out the 6th grade science teachers at Rotolo. Particularly, this was spearheaded by Deb Nelson, and she got the Estes, which is a rocket company, to actually come out and build 200 rockets for the 6th grade students. And they kind of had like a barrier that was like, okay, that's the moon. And they helped launch rockets to see how, the altitude and if they could reach the moon and so forth, which, she got grants and everything. So they built 200 rockets basically for free. And they launched them. And so she was part of the STEM program, but, so it's Deb Nelson, Julie Singenberger, Jody, yes, thank you, Jody Stoneberg, and then Sam Wigley. So they were all there, and they helped do that. So I think that's pretty great. They're bringing STEM back into the schools. And then lastly, just to the class of 2023, congratulations, best of luck in your future endeavors. And like they said, if you ever need anything, you can always come back, and we're here to help.
Thank you. Jumps over me.
So Once again, congratulations to the graduates, 2023 graduates. I will say, I hope you guys have a little better weather tomorrow night than we did last year, because it was an absolute downpour leaving the ceremony, so I'm sure some of you remember that. Thank you to the teachers and support staff for all your great work this past school year. As I mentioned, a relaxing summer, and recharge and get ready to get back at it in August. Thank you to Steve, Brad, and Tony. They met with me over the last few weeks. Put up with probably a lot of dumb questions from myself, just trying to learn a little bit about how their organizations run, some of the processes that we use. So appreciate the information, guys. And I do know that we got a lot of challenges, but you three gentlemen are the right people to help us get through them. So thank you.
I feel like I've got some negative things, so I'm sorry. Positives and negatives. So first of all, I'm really happy to hear we're gonna talk about the referendum again. I had the positive and happy experience to go to Storm Stampede, which is HC Storm's field day. That was a lot of fun. I ran the fling section where you fling your shoe. So it was surprising how many shoes went backwards, but the kids did really good about saving each other. The sad part about that was seeing the cones that had to be used to prop the doors open because the need of the facilities. So that's all. I don't need to be negative. I'm sorry. I need you to be positive after me.
I will be.
So the casino is amazing, and I'm so excited about that. And obviously the revenue sounds great, but I'm having a really hard time, acknowledging or I don't want to have all this excitement with the loss of revenue that's going to come at the expense of the children at the Aurora schools. So I think I'm going to probably dig into that a little bit more to get some more information on exactly how that all happened, because I would assume that losing $200,000-$300,000 a year towards school districts is, or if they're even at $5 million a year, which is that what we were told we're going to be at some point? So if they're losing that much revenue for their schools, I can only imagine what their situation is right now. All happy here. Grads, congratulations. I look forward to being at the graduation tomorrow, but sad because I'm going to my daughter's 5th grade celebration tomorrow, and I'm probably going to cry, but that will be, I don't know, something. I'll be sad and happy at the same time. And then last, we're all talking about summer and all the breaks that everyone's getting, but I do want to remember or remind everyone for us that, we are going to be having more meetings probably this summer than we've had in the last couple of months. So thank you to all of you, all of us. Thank you to us. Thanks to me. No, I'm really excited. I'm really grateful that you all are willing to do this, because I know it took a while for us to figure out the meetings and everything for the summer. So I'm really happy and proud of us that we're going to be getting some things done before the new school year starts. Take it away.
Okay. I am just going to keep it short and sweet, because in the past, Kathy would stand up here and say, I can't say anything to add to these sorts of things, but you all know me, so I'm going to just barrel through it a bit. No, I am, this is a big year for me in particular, just because my youngest is graduating tomorrow. So he today went to Grace McWayne and stood up there with some of his best buds that he met in kindergarten, are still some of his best buds now. So that's very excited. I guarantee I will be crying, just hopefully not during the speech tomorrow. I want to say, as a husband to a speech pathologist in a school district, sort of a teacher, that, you're at the midpoint of the year and you're going, you can make it, you'll do this, you'll get there, it'll be great. And now they're at the end, you guys, this is your home stretch. I pass along to the teachers and the staff and the custodians and everybody else that we appreciate all of the hard work that they have done for the entire year, and whatever break that they decide to give themselves over the next couple of months, because they don't all get to take a break for the entire summer. To that, please take what you can and enjoy what you can, but we really appreciate all the effort everybody puts in making our students the best they can be. Lastly, to our four fellow board members, I'm very excited particularly about the 3 of you that are joining us. I'm getting to know you guys over the past couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to it again, and particularly the kind of new kind of jolt of energy and excitement and things to look forward to taking care of, and what we can accomplish as a group is very exciting to me. So that is all of my comments that I have for tonight. So thank you very much. I'm going to then move on and say I would entertain a motion to adjourn to a closed session for the reason of collective negotiations, matters between a public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
So moved.
Second.
So moved by AJ and Sue, and second by Sue. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.